Alright all, and welcome back to another Cheltenham Festival Ante-Post update. I think it's number 4 in our series, and we move on to concluding the weekend's action. Obviously there was some action at Punchestown, there was action at Cork, Sandown over in England, as well as Aintree. So a very interesting weekend, another few Cheltenham Festival clues, and we do have another bet to add to our list in this week's episode. I know last week I didn't have a bet, but this week I am. I want to put this horse up because I just have an inkling about him, and I have an inkling that the price he's currently at is going to go soon enough. As you guys well know, and I'm sure you guys are finding the same way, there's not that much value in the Ante-Post markets, especially at the moment. You know, every time a horse wins or comes close to winning, it's cut and cut kind of without any reason almost, you know, which is so frustrating for the Ante-Post punter. You have to kind of make the leap of faith back in September, October to get any type of price usually, and I don't know, it's just the way bookmaking seems to be going, but hopefully we can still find and eke out some of the value there when we can. Just to go back on the, I suppose, the ones I have put up, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. There's some cracking looking bets in there. There's a few now looking a little bit hairy, starting off with Allaho, who seemingly ran a really bad race in the John Durkan. I would forgive him, but it was pretty concerning. I put him up at 12s for the Ryanair. He's now 16s. That doesn't look particularly great. On the other hand, we've Thyme Hill put up at 16 to 1 for the Stars Hurdle. I think he's now into as short as 5 to 1 or 11 to 2. Looks a cracking bet. Put up Sam Watt 20s for the Champion Hurdle. He now is 8s, I believe. He does have Epatome to beat, but potentially is the best of the Irish Challenge. We've got Nassalam at 25 to 1 for the Triumph Hurdle. He runs today at Fontwell Park. I'd like to see him win. If he doesn't win that bet will be down the Scoobies. If he wins impressively, though, I'd say he'll be cut into 20s. I've got Delta Work at 40 to 1 for the Gold Cup, which is, I thought was a cracking price. I think if ever you were back to lay better, I know some people are, some people wouldn't be. But this horse will contract in price because he'll run a big race in either of the big Leopardstown races, if not both. He mightn't necessarily win, you know, if the likes of Manila Indo and Champ do turn up, say, to the Lexus, he mightn't win, but if he comes second or third in amongst these horses, he'll be cut even more, and I still think he's, like, he has contracted a bit, but I still think he's around 25 to 33 to 1 across the board, which still seemed a little bit big for me, really. I think he should be a 16 to 1 chance with the likes of Presenting Percy, but we got 40 to 1, which seems a good price. And Latest Exhibition at 16 to 1 for the RSA, who was still 16 to 1 for the RSA. He went down into 10s and now drifted back out to 16s after getting beat at Punchestown. I wouldn't be overly against his chances yet. Monkfish is the one to beat. I think he'll be tough to beat, but I don't think there's that much else in that division, to be honest, that's actually certified to run. You know, if the likes of an Easy Work was to run, that would put the cat amongst the pigeons, but we're not sure about that. And also he made his chase debut over 2 miles, so I don't know what the plan is with him. Going through, though, the weekend action, I suppose the big ones, I'm not going to spend too long on today's episode. It's not going to be like the last episode, which was very long. I think it was 27 minutes. Starting off with the big breakaway over in Exeter, and I know some people have been very forgiving of the big breakaway, and I can understand that he's obviously 2 mile 3 at Exeter on a fairly sharp track was never going to be his ideal cup of tea. He does need every ounce of 3 miles, and I know some of you guys are very impressed with him. I just thought it was seriously unimpressive. Personally, I think Bold Plan is an okay horse. I don't think he'll become any more than a handicap chaser. You know, maybe a good handicap chaser, but I don't think he'll become any more than that down the line. And I think you just have to put a horse like that away, surely. You know, if you want to be winning at Cheltenham, kind of no matter what the distance. Like, it was still 2.5 miles, and I'd be slightly disappointed after jumping so well at Cheltenham. His jumping kind of went to pieces down the straight when he was put under pressure. That was the first time we've seen him put under maximum pressure in a race, and his jumping slightly folded, which I just thought it was a very uninspiring performance. I thought he looked very slow. I know he'll go back up in trip, but I'd be taking him on in the Quarto Star Novices Chase, I suspect. I just don't think he has the requisite tools to win that race. And to be honest, I'd say there's maybe a few horses just a little better than him in the RSA. Certainly at this stage in his development, maybe long term he is a prospect. But he couldn't be one I would be having, I must say. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the big breakaway in the comments down below. Another one that's gotten very well hyped from Friday's racing was a horse called Stargate, who won the Novices Hurdle at Sandown, the Grade 2 Winter Novices Hurdle over 2.5 miles. And I know one of my regular commenters, Mick, actually put him up in last week's preview video for all of us to watch, and he won really impressively. So well done to Mick. But yeah, look, this horse is a lovely horse. He won his point-to-point in Ireland. He's now 2 for 2 over hurdles in England. If I'm being honest, I don't think he's got any prospect this year in a Cheltenham Novice Hurdle. I think this horse will be seen to best effect down the line over a fence and maybe over even longer a trip, that 2.5 to 3 mile trip. He wouldn't be for me this year. I thought the race he won, he did it really well, but the race itself is up to not much. There's no getting away from that. That Valier's got well beat by a horse called 300 through 5 of Paul Nicholls the previous time up at Ludlow. It's not rock solid form, I don't think, and I just think that there's more he needs to improve, certainly, for him to enter my calculations for the likes of a Ballymore. But he maybe could do. He is an impressive and progressive horse, so interesting to see where Stargate goes. But I'd be really holding fire until that horse sees a fence myself. Moving on to Sandown on Saturday, and the 2 big Grade 1s, All Mankind was really impressive, Jump for Fun. He's a very streetwise horse for a horse so young as him. He's only 4 years old, you have to remember. He certainly doesn't act like it in terms of his proficiency on the track. But I still couldn't have this horse for an Arkle at all. I don't think Cheltenham's his be-all and end-all track. He was very poor in the Triumph last year, and you guys will know I was sweet on him for the Triumph, and I thought he ran really poorly in the end. And maybe he just got his throat cut off by Goshen, but he was going to get absolutely whooped by Goshen and probably 2 or 3 others. He would have come 4th or 5th if your man had stayed up on his feet. So I wasn't overly kind of enamoured by that performance, and I wasn't enamoured by his performance behind Botox Has on his reappearance. So he's a hard one to really figure out, but I wouldn't be taking 10-1 for the Arkle myself. I think Shishkin looks fairly bomb-proof, and if something's going to tackle Shishkin, I suspect it's going to be one of the Willie Mullen novices, if I'm being perfectly honest. The likes of a Black Bow, unaccepted, maybe an Ergamine over 2 miles. I think they'd all have a real chance. I'm still not sure about that form from the weekend either. An awful lot of 4-year-olds running in that race. I think he'll have to beat some better horses down the line if he wants to be winning an Arkle. Politolog won at the Tingle Creek. I'm not really going to go into the whole LTR thing, because so many people have discussed it, whether he should have run, shouldn't have run. I'm probably on the fence with it. I could kind of see both sides, but at the end of the day, he didn't run, and Politolog ran and won impressively, and I thought he was excellent. You do have to bear in mind the 2 mile division is on its knees, I think, this year. I think it's a useless division. The fact that Put the Kettle On is 8-10-1. I know I've discussed that before. She's a very admirable mare, but you feel that it's almost a little bit wrong with her being that short. And I just think it's a race that, if it cut up again, with Altior maybe not running, maybe Shakan gets another injury, something like that. Politolog's as good a chance as any of retaining his crown here. He's as good as he's ever been. They've seemed to have found a bit of a key to him here now with being very aggressive over 2 miles. Let him use his jumping. He obviously stays 2 miles very well, and he just wouldn't be one that's without a chance, to be honest. Especially, as I say, if the race was to cut up. If the race wasn't to cut up, he's probably a solid enough each way alternative as well. I can't really see him out of the frame at the moment of a champion chase. Which is a testament to him and his consistency and his ability. So I think he is a horse that people love to slightly pick holes in, because the champion chase last year was pretty poor, but he won it by 9 lengths, and he's won on reappearance in the Tingle Creek by 7 or 8 lengths. So there's not much getting away from these sort of performances, and you'd have to have as fair enough chance. I certainly would have him ahead of Put the Kettle On if you had to pick between the two in the champion chase. Moving on to Cork on Sunday, which also I'm going to discuss just because we're on the 2 mile division. Ante-Post, I thought he was excellent personally. I thought his jumping down the back was absolutely superb. He made a little mistake at 3 out, wasn't maybe as fluent as he could have been 2 out, but he still latched back on the bridle. He won very impressively. When you think of how much improvement's likely to come from that performance, he's a serious horse, he's a serious tool, and I don't know, I don't think he's maybe quite in the same mould as like your Vautours or Duvans down the years. Like, I do think he gets bone idle out in front, so I'm not sure that he's actually ever going to win races maybe quite as cosily as people want him to, but he still is battering horses, he's still battering good horses, and his record when he does run is pretty exemplary really with his performances, and hopefully next stop will be Christmas time and we'll see an even better Ante-Post test his credentials, I assume against the likes of Notebook. I wouldn't say Put the Kettle On, but maybe the likes of Notebook, Cashback again, that type of horse, and hopefully he can go and do the job again. I'm not going to spend much time talking about Min in the John Durkan, apart from the fact that it was great to see what little we could of Min winning the race. Unfortunately, the race itself, a bit of a farce. We've no idea. As I said with Allaho, we have no idea how he ran. Did he clout fences? Was he never travelling? Couldn't tell you. He just got absolutely stuffed. So, same with Chris's Dream. He got stuffed. He didn't really have any right to be stuffed. Although his reappearance record is always good and his second run back is always a little bit iffy. So that's maybe an angle to bear in mind with Chris's Dream, I must say. But it was a hard race to have any sort of actual conclusion to, but good to see Min win. Just a few others throughout the weekend that caught my eye. 50 ball for Gary Moore. I know I put him up on the weekend preview. He won very impressively at Sandown in the handicap hurdle. If he was to win another race or two like that, he might run in a county. Say Skull for Mick Winters. Mick Winters a great character, obviously. This horse is a fine mare. Maybe might run it at a Bartlett with a mare's allowance if they plan to go to Cheltenham this year. Otherwise, just scoop up another few decent prizes in Ireland before being put away for fences next year. And on Navan on Saturday, Andy Dufresne won the 3-runner novice chase, graded novice chase. Look, Andy Dufresne, he kind of gets the job done, but it always seems workmanlike, and I just don't know. I don't think this horse actually will run at Cheltenham again. Like, he might be the type of horse that wins the what used to be the Paris Gold Cup at Fairyhouse, the 2.5 mile Grade 1 novice. He might win a race like that, with horses from Cheltenham not running. But I just feel that at top level he's always going to be exposed to a few good horses. And obviously the bumper winner, Kill Crute, who's gotten an awful lot of talk. I do think he is actually going to go down the champion bumper route. You have to remember the owners, the Mastersons, have had carefully selected and appreciated, both very narrowly touched off in the bumper. This horse is still the right age to be just sticking to bumpers. I would say, if I was a betting man, that his targets this season will be the 29th of December at Leopardstown, which is the winner's bumper, then the Grade 2 at the Dublin Racing Festival, and on to the Cheltenham bumper. But I'm willing to be proven wrong there, but I do think he will go down the bumper route. He seems to be the most likely type for the Mullins team. But that moves us on to our bet, and bet number 7. And this is one I've been stirring about for a little bit. I was humming and hawing between two horses. There was a horse I put up in my horses to follow, horse called Grange Clare Native. I thought he might be one. He hasn't turned out to be maybe quite as good over hurdles as I hoped he might be. I still think he's got maybe a decent pot in him somewhere in a handicap. But it was between the two, and I am now really firmly of the opinion that wide receiver is going to be Gordon Elliott's Martin Pipe horse. It's no after timing whatsoever. I've been saying this sort of stuff on Twitter the last few months now, every time he ran. And the reason I want to put him up is that there's only a few bookmakers giving out any race markets for the Cheltenham Festival, and there's a bit of an anomaly here that Sky Bet are 25 to 1 any race wide receiver. 25 to 1. I think that's a sniffing price. You look at Paddy Power, they're only offering 12 to 1. William Hill, I think, are somewhere in the middle, 16 to 1 maybe. But this is a mad price. I know not everyone will have Sky Bet, but geez, if there was any ever incentive to go and download Sky Bet, this would be it from my perspective anyway. I think he's a massive price. I just can't see him being that price. You know, if he goes on to win a maiden hurdle, then runs an eye-catching race in a handicap at the Dublin Racing Festival, I suspect that's the plan with him, or the plan in inverted commas with him before going on to the Martin Pipe. I think he ticks an awful lot of boxes. He was a well-bred, well-bought bumper horse. Looked pretty good on his first few starts in bumpers. He hasn't, done the business over hurdles so far, but he's getting that requisite experience. So you only have to look through the last number of runners Gordon Elliott has run in the Martin Pipe. The likes of Colin Maffar had 7 runs over hurdles. Dallas they picked on 5 runs, blow by blow, 5 runs. And there was one other Squia Tour, I think, at 6 runs. So he does like to get them an awful lot of runs. This horse has already ran 3 times over hurdles already at this time of the year. I think there's probably another space for 2 more runs there. As I say, maybe another maiden hurdle and then a handicap debut to give him a bit of experience before going on to Cheltenham. But I don't think, if everything goes to plan, I have a feeling this horse will be 4 or 5 to 1 for a Martin Pipe on the day. With the any race market, obviously there's nobody pricing up the Martin Pipe as a actual race yet. So you do have to dip into the any race market, which also gives you the luxury if he does go down one of the other handicap routes. But wide receiver, 25 to 1 with Sky Bet, any race for the Cheltenham Festival 2021, I think is actually a really good bet. And I wasn't actually almost planning to do a video this week, but once I saw the price was still there, I thought I must put him up and I must get him on my Ante-Post selection. So to conclude, wide receiver, 25 to 1 any race. I'll be very interested to hear what your guys' thoughts is on a horse like that. Obviously, it's maybe a little bit risky at this time of the year trying to decipher handicap destinations, especially for horses from Gordon Elliott's yard. But that's what I've put 2 and 2 together with this horse. I wonder what you guys think down below. And of course, if you have any further Cheltenham Festival Ante-Post picks or any thoughts on the markets, of course, let us know down below as well. If you did like the video, please do make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. We're back over 2,050 subscribers now, so thank you to one and all for your continued support. Of course, as I said on many other videos, if you want to get involved in horse racing ownership, get in touch with myself or Kieran, who'll be in the description below. All links there. We've had 2 runners on the weekend, both ran very respectably, and hopefully improvement to come from both. But until next time, which will be the weekend preview, we'll be looking through the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup card at Cheltenham. I hope you stay safe, stay well, land a few bets this week, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.